Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about episode 9 of Marvel's M.O.D.O.K. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. I love that we start off with M.O.D.O.K. visiting his best friend's grave, that being Meltzer, which I love his grave's melt stuff good. But it's explaining everything that's kind of going down. And also, oh yeah, my family, obviously we've got 2 Lou's now, but they decide to split food, so our family budget's kind of unchanged, so instead of, feeding 2 Lou's, the 2 Lou's have decided to split the food amongst themselves, so... But also I love it. It's his family's there, and M.O.D.O.K's that's why, it's yeah, you had to, I know you wanted to come see my husband's grave, but you had to push us out of the way. You didn't have to push my son into an open grave. I did, because if I didn't, he would have won and got here first. And also they're crying, and he's like, do you have to be the loudest criers in the entire cemetery? And for him, it's just I don't know what to do with his life now. His family's back in order, but now, what do I do about AIM and his ambitions of taking over the world? And then we have, all these cuts of everyone being oh my god, time to turn over a new leaf. Yes, that's exactly what I call it when I'm raking leaves, turning over a new leaf. The person that's reading their child a Harry Potter book, in particular, it seems like Goblet of Fire in particular, and then there's the couple having sex, and she's come at it from a different angle. He's this is the busiest cemetery ever. I knew I couldn't count on you, that you would help me. Wait, no, try something new. Some a roundabout way to come to the conclusion yourself, but okay. For one, it's okay, dude, raking leaves, fine. Reading potentially Harry Potter to your son in a graveyard, okay. Having sex in a graveyard, that's next level, dude. Holy crap. But obviously he's decided, you know what? I'm going to focus on doing my job as, be the best male guy I can be. I love it at the same time. Gary's flipping out. It's oh my god, M.O.D.O.K's going to get mad at me. He's please don't make me eat so much spaghetti that I end up having to go to the hospital again. I love that it's oh, he called one of the guys something. He's no, that's not me. Actually, he's been gone for about 2 weeks now. We're all kind of worried about it. He's who cares? He's probably most likely dead. This car has been missing for 5 minutes. It can still be saved. But M.O.D.O.K's not pissed. He's handing out people's mail and stuff like that, doing his job, and Gary's confused. And then Monica kicks one thing out of his hand, and she's oh, what was it, poison? He was actually, I'm pretty sure that was Blue Apron. That was 6, I can't believe you kicked that in the air. That was about 6 meals, which I'm holy crap. It's don't you, once again, I don't know how that stuff works. I'm wouldn't you have to pay to say Blue Apron? Was it sponsored by Blue Apron or something? I'm you could have been vague and be oh, it's some... meal kit service. It's you specifically said Blue Apron. That's why I was kind of that's interesting. Regardless, but Monica, I think it's so interesting that he's such a buffoon, and Monica always seems like she's top dog, but she's kind of scared. I guess it's because the psychological warfare, even though there is no psychological warfare, her being wait. M.O.D.O.K's trying to get back at me, and even Austin being oh, don't you want to call me a shitbag or something? He's no. Do you want me to? And Austin's no. And so he meets with Hexius, the living planet, and I love that it's essentially it's a info dump. And it's okay, they want to move up operations, something the Grumble Grum that they're working on. Love the name. They're working on it's supposed to come out months from now, but it's actually being pushed up to Tuesday. And it's yeah, they explain what they are. That basically they go to planet and devour its resources, and that's why they're here on Earth now. And it's okay. He's yeah, I kind of already knew that about you, but it's yeah, thanks for the explanation dump for the audience, but I don't need it because I know what your whole deal is. But still, they're yeah. Obviously, it's he's got no problem selling out humanity, but it's hey, I get to keep Sherlock, right? That way I don't have to be so alone. But they're no, we don't want you to have that. Dogs like him are going to be the first ones to go. And it's oh, okay. And he kind of walks away. But I love that. I love the little thing between him and Sherlock, the whole thumbs up thing. Even later on, he's he says something, and Sherlock gives him the thumbs down. He's and then Sherlock gives him the thumbs up. He's Sherlock, you got me. I love it. It's so good. But also, we learned some interesting things about Monica and her daughter. It turns out her daughter is actually a byproduct of Monica cloning a male version of herself and inseminating herself. That's some next level egotistical narcissism, like, to a certain extent. It's like, rather, like, no one's going to be good enough for me except for me, so I'm going to make a male version of me so that I can have a child that's kind of all me. You know, because it's like, you're not only my mother, you're also my father, and it's also like, you're M.O.D.O.K in disguise, and took, like, a spinal tap, and then also, like, shrinks her inside of her, which we never saw her come out, so that means, like, potentially she's still inside of her mom, because it's, like, injecting her with PIM particles, which I love that their whole, like, getting the death robots after her, which I love the death robots are all about, like, oh, let's kill. Wait, are we blasting? Or are we blasting? But it's like, oh, I love you. Oh my God, you're my daughter. I love your face. I love you so much. Oh my God. It's like, but once again, it's like, why are you so stressed out about M.O.D.O.K? You act like you never care, like he's the bumbling idiot, but you're so scared. But I guess it's like, right, I screwed him over so immensely. Like, the fact is that he is a bit crazy, so I don't know what to expect from him type of thing. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of fascinating. Even the fact that she was hiding in a manatee's body. It's like, hey, you can call me Mama T or something like that. But nevertheless, another angle to this episode, some revelations. We found out about Gary's significant other, Big Mike, and it's like, it was like a very dramatic thing of like, right, if you can't understand M.O.D.O.K, then maybe you don't understand me. Because he's like, I gotta be there for M.O.D.O.K. It's like, yeah, Big Mike's like, here's a picture, I got this locket of me and you got this, wait, what's this? His locket has a picture of him and M.O.D.O.K's locket. It is interesting that despite everything, Gary is so obsessed with him. Like, he's the reason why you lost an arm, but I guess he believes in M.O.D.O.K so much. He believes in his future. It's like, it's so important. Like, this is so important. The fact is, I have to kill Austin. I love that whole thing, too, when everyone eventually converges, because Austin's trying to find a way out of this whole thing. Like, if he can stop the grumble groan from being completed by M.O.D.O.K, who's working on it, because he's planning, because it's like, right, because Monica's like, yeah, I fixed it. I mean, granted, it's down, it went from killing 10 people down to 2. That's progress, but it's like, Austin's like, oh, well, I guess we're going to have to prolong it, but M.O.D.O.K said, I can fix it, and he's been working on it, which Austin's trying to deter him, and I love that whole, all three of them converging from different things. Monica want to come after him because it's like, oh, he's going to get me, I've got to come out get him before he gets me, and then Austin's like, right, I got to find a way to stop M.O.D.O.K before Hexus ends up running everything. It's like, you sold humanity out up to this point, but it's because you won't be able to keep Sherlock as the main reason, and obviously, it's like, Gary's like, Austin is killing M.O.D.O.K's spirit, so I'm gonna have to kill Austin's body. But we also saw him like working out one-handed. He's in pretty good shape. Once again, I love that when you actually get revealed about people's situation. It's like, oh, you find out someone's ripped. You're like, oh, your clothes hid the. Well, to be fair, everyone's wearing the same suit, but it's like, oh. He's actually the first one we've actually seen their bodies, and he's got like a giant tattoo of like "Kill Austin" on his back or something like that. So he's working on his plan. He tries to poison them with like snake venom, but then when like Austin's talking to the exes, and it's like, right, they're bringing up the fact is that they're very distinct personalities. I like pretty faces, I like ugly faces, and I'm an ass man. And it's like later on, you're gonna make this like you're gonna like kill your dog. We're not gonna like enslave your dog. We want you to kill it right now and serve its meat. As like, I want it plain. I want it Baja. Well, the fact of the matter is, see, don't we all have distinct personalities? Well, actually, hearing this one talk about he wants it Baja style, I want it Baja style. I want make it 3 Baja styles. Gary's attempt to use a poison dart didn't work. Then he just threw the snake down, and then the poison dart fell and killed the snake. And I love the pun of, oh, I guess that snake is history. I love puns. I'm a disgusting human being. I know I love puns. I can't help it. So that didn't work out. Monica's so nervous about M.O.D.O.K, she ends up kidnapping Gary. Tell me everything, about M.O.D.O.K. Well, it's like, I'm M.O.D.O.K, tell me everything about, well, my name is actually Gary. It's like, no, I need to know everything there is to know about. She's like, oh, well, that's great, because that's actually my subject. And he ends up, like, chewing off his own hand. But it's like, you're already armless, and now you've left yourself with literally no hand at this point in time. Austin accidentally went into that infusion pod thing with the doll with Sherlock and came out a mutated mess. They're at the meeting. Sherlock, well, at one point, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but I also love that whole stupid bit about the oatmeal. I was like, I only put it on for 10 minutes. Well, maybe it's cool now. Ow, it's so hot. Well, maybe it's cool now. But at the same time, like, eventually, like, there's the attack on Avengers Tower. It's like M.O.D.O.K's team, which I'm like, his, like, bottom feeder team. And I'm like, why are they doing, like, was that them doing that on their own? Did M.O.D.O.K convince them? Were they in the know about what he was up to? I have no idea. But it's like, yeah, Iron Man pretty much takes care of them, and it's like, M.O.D.O.K's like, hey, can we talk? I was like, where's that going? And so M.O.D.O.K kind of reveals as everything's kind of playing out. In actuality, he actually sold the business, well, his shares of AIM, and it's like, to who? And he sold it to Iron Man. So that was interesting. I love, he's like, yeah, I'm all about this business. He's like, and yes, I'm saying the word business a lot, but that's none of your concern. I got you. I got at least one. That guy over there, I bet you I got him. So I was like, why is he doing that? That's so interesting. And he's offering Monica, he shows her something. And it's like, because he doesn't have enough shares, but he can get Monica to sell her shares. And Monica sees something on the paper. It's like, what did it say? And she's like, all right, I'm willing to sell my shares. And so that was really interesting. I was like, what's the purpose of all of this? And it turns out M.O.D.O.K was planning this the entire time. Rather than trying to reclaim AIM isn't what it was anymore. So he decided to start fresh. It's got like, he's like AIM 2.0. Instead of using periods, he's using dashes. It's AIM 2. And it's like basically trying to get around the legality of it. And it's like, she's going to be the scientist supreme. It's like, it's back to being, because, you know, yeah, AIM isn't a building. It's M.O.D.O.K and Monica. Yeah, we could get back to science. It's like, but if I'm going to be the science supreme, who are you? And he was like, I'm the science supremer. And she's like, oh, you're still a piece of shit. But then, like, Austin's trying to warn them about, like, hexes. And then Gary ends up killing him. And it's like, oh, you're so obsessed with me, Gary. And M.O.D.O.K's like, well, that's why we need an employee like you working at AIM too. So they're the only ones kind of being brought along. Once again, I wonder if his like misfit team, are they going to be a part of AIM 2 as well, or is it just going to be Monica and Gary? Which we do see at the end, Gary's got a new hand and everything. Also, but we find out like the Grome, I should say. I said home. Sorry, legally distinct Grome. It turns out, also I love that it's like, right, they're going to use my wife's ex-boyfriend Wonder Man to be the representative of it. And so basically it's like, oh yeah, I fixed the issue in like 2 minutes, but it took me like 2 days or whatever to fix the, make it so that basically the Grome emits a frequency that only the animals can hear, and it drives them wild. So we see them attack Wonder Man and Iron Man. So it's like, oh, twofold. You actually kind of came out on top. It's like, holy crap. For the first time, I guess you can make the argument last episode too, M.O.D.O.K is coming out on top. He won. It's like, yeah, we're starting a new business. I don't have to worry about AIM. Austin's dead. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know about everything Hexus is up to, but still. And so they're hiring someone new at the end, and it's like, yeah, I guess I worked too hard and stuff like that. So it's like, all right, you're going to submit to us, and now we're going to work on our ultimate goal. It's no longer taking over the world. Right now, it's destroying M.O.D.O.K. So interesting developments. I wasn't expecting that when the episode started, but it's like, I guess he was biding his time the entire time playing coy. It's like, well, coming at it from a different angle, trying something new, and giving everyone what they want so they can let their guards down. Very interesting. You wouldn't expect that from M.O.D.O.K, but I guess finally he is learning something from all of this, because he's very hard-headed and he's very stuck in his ways. But yeah. A lot of, like I said, a lot of growth on both the family front last episode and now the business front. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where things take us in the next episode. I'm staring at the Hulu like thing for the next episode, and it's literally Lou and his bar mitzvah. So I guess we're circling to that. Next episode is the season finale, so I'm curious to see how they wrap this season up. It's going to be really, really interesting. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time with me, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.